Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Female Founders Academy free masterclass. I am so excited that you are here. I am so passionate about this because it is so important for me for women to know how to make their own money. One, I think that absolutely connects us to our freedom and to our power and to control in our life. And it is a huge confidence booster. And this doesn't have to be this huge, giant business. This could literally be just a couple of hours a week while your baby takes a nap because it's something that you genuinely love to do and you're able to contribute to your family, learn some amazing skills, and grow your confidence, which is what every woman absolutely deserves. If you have something that you love to do, or if you have an idea on your heart that you just can't stop thinking about, or if you really are thinking, gosh, I really need to, I really want to know how to make money. Let's get started. Okay, I am a little old lady and I have a whole slide presentation, and this will be available for download as well, the free masterclass, but I love to print out slides. I've been a corporate girl for 15 years. Every time I present, whether it be across the globe or to a handful of people in a boardroom, I always print out my slides because that's just who I am. So love me for me. Okay, in this session, you are going to learn how to build high income businesses in just 20 hours a week so that you have more time with your kids, all while transforming yourself from overwhelmed to confident. And I can do it with you in just 90 days. If you want to feel like you have more control over your life with how you show up and how you feel each day, then you're in the right place. If you want to spend more time with your kids, really, truly, as much as possible, because you know the days are long, but the years are short, and you know that they need you more than ever, then you're in the right place. And if you want to make more money than you honestly ever could have imagined, doing something that you love, then you're absolutely in the right place. So let's get started. Okay, just to reground, I know if you're listening to this podcast, you know me as the podcast host. But I just wanted to reground into why I teach this, why I love this, really kind of give some substance behind my background. So I am a 20-year marketing strategist, brand builder, entrepreneur, storyteller, and a single mom of 4 and the founder, obviously, of the Write Your Own Story company. I teach moms how to start and run businesses in 20 hours a week or less, making more money than they ever could have imagined so they can spend more time with their kids. And I also obviously host this podcast, which celebrates women's stories and encourages women to put down the societal shoulds and live the life most authentic to them. And although all of this was born out of a chapter in my life I never saw coming, I have found the greatest comfort, peace, confidence, and power learning how to write my own story for how my life goes. And honest to God, I could not be happier. So that is, my fancy pantsy bio, but there's so much more to me. As I mentioned, I'm a single mom of 4. I never have the laundry done. I always have dishes in the sink. I am always behind on opening my mail, and I have mastered the art of sending my friends millions of reels instead of doing the things that tackling the piles around my house. I tried to be a stay-at-home mom with my first kid, and I made it 4 months. I love to work, and I think being a stay-at-home mom is the absolute hardest job in the world. To all the stay-at-home moms out there, you are absolute queens. Thank you for doing what you do. When I had my third and fourth kids, because they're twins, I had 4 kids 4 and under. And so I was like, ooh, I can't go back to work full time. So I started freelancing and started my own consulting company. And in doing that, I learned how to do billing, find my own clients, pitch my own work. I mean, it was totally different than working in a corporate career, and gained a ton of skills in that. Then I went back to work full time at Deloitte because the job sounded too good to be true. And guess what? It was. It totally burnt me out to an absolute crisp. It's an amazing company, but boy, oh boy, was that the wrong move for me. I accelerated my dream retirement job. I wanted to start and own a paper and gift shop in like the base of a mountain in Colorado when I retired. But I was so burnt out from my experience at Deloitte that I was like, I'm going to start an e-commerce business on the side. I learned so much. I made a ton of money in sales, but I also didn't have a good eye on my costs and really built the business in a non-scalable way. So although I was successful on paper, there was no way that I could scale this business. So yes, I was successful, but yes, there were a lot of failures in that too. And I learned so much. And then I ran a nonprofit with my ex-husband. And this was, all around raising money for Cincinnati Children's. We brought 400 people to an event year over year, raised over $100,000. And boy, oh boy, do I know how to start and run an event on a absolutely lean, non-existent budget. I have made mistakes. I've had setbacks. I've had stumbles. I've had falls, but I have Googled and studied and crawled and climbed and honestly loved every step of the way into building the career that I have today. So when I say I get you, I really do. I've been some version of you absolutely in my past. So when you're like, well, I'm the only one, let me stop you right here and tell you, you are absolutely not the only one. Okay, in today's class, we're going to learn how to set a vision for what you want your life to look like and what you want your business to look and feel like. We're going to get crystal clear on what you offer and how it's a true extension of who you are so you feel inspired to show up every single day for work. We're going to make easy financial goals that are just super, super easy to understand and motivating to keep chasing after. And we're going to learn really smart but easy ways to do marketing so that you keep showing up for your business, generating sales. And last but not least, we're going to make a really simple, clear, repeatable operating plan so that you know what to do every single day and rinse and repeat so you never feel overwhelmed in trying to decide what to do next. Before we dive in, I just want to quickly set the stage that did you know that 72% of women want to open their own business? They see entrepreneurship as a potential to grow their income. They're seeking flexible work and life schedules. They're dreaming of becoming their own boss. They're craving more time with their family, and they can't let go of an idea that they're pursuing. Already, 50% of women don't currently own a business. So 72% of women really, really, really want to do this, but 50% don't. And there's a million reasons why, right? There's access to capital, there's societal expectations. There's a ton of stigma around women owning their own businesses and running their own businesses and taking time away from their children to go work. There aren't a ton of us who are out there as, role models and teachers, which is why I'm trying really hard to be able to put my work out there to help and guide. Work-life balance challenges. Yes, I have so much more flexibility, but I do run my own business and raise 4 children. So yeah, it gets challenging sometimes. But the one that gets me the most and that I think is the most honest is so many women are afraid of failing. Women are terrified to not be perfect for a million of societal reasons. And it is time to put that down because the greatest gifts come from failure. Let me tell you, they have opened the greatest opportunities and unlocked the greatest bits of learning that I needed. So it is time for all of us to not be afraid. Okay, let's get started. I am so glad you're here. All right, so how do you create a business that allows you to live the life that you want on your own terms, right? So many of us are working a corporate career and have no control over our schedule, or so many of us have started a business, but oh my God, it is taking up every single second of my life. Or so many of us are so busy being a mom, how could we ever possibly build a business within this? Because there's literally negative time in the current construct of our life. As woo-woo as this sounds, this is the most fundamental principle, honestly, for anything in life, let alone for being able to build a business. And it's really about building a business around balance and joy. So to me, this is a huge step back in a brainstorm for what do you want your life to be like? Let's say you get the cleanest of clean slates and you get to start over. If you could really get a journal out, have a glass of wine, and sit and think about this, what are your big hopes and dreams for your life? For your life, not for your kids' life, not for to help grow the company. What are the dreams for your life? What does a great day look like? What does a great day feel like? What are non-negotiables? My non-negotiables are I get my kids off the bus every day at 4 o'clock. Non-negotiable. I am done, dusted with work, and I am ready for them. How would you feel when you sit and you imagine those dream days? To me, my dream days include being active and playing tennis because I think it's so fun, grabbing coffee with friends some days, having days where I can plop on the couch for an hour after my kids get on the bus because, oh my God, the morning routine. What do you want your life to look like? And what if you could do anything and have it run anyway? What does that feel like? When I get stuck in this kind of brainstorm, my very favorite question is to ask myself, what if it all worked out? If all of this planning worked out, how would you feel? I love the statement of, okay, this is a fill in the blank. So when you are listening to this and you have the chance to get out a pen or a pencil, what if it all worked out? I would feel blank because of this game changer, which is blank. And I get to blank, which is this like, I'm embarrassed to say the result out loud. And then from there, now that you've got this idea of what you want your life to feel like and what this business would feel like and why it's such a dream idea and the game changing results that would have for your life, then what are the goals that you can associate with that business or with your life that you can measure? So, for example, I only work 20 hours a week. I am financially independent. I get my kids off the bus every day. I build a business around things that are my natural extension of my natural gifts, which is mentoring, teaching, conversation, storytelling, strategy. And I have never been happier. So that is really what we are talking about when it comes to building a business around balance and joy. So we've touched on, what does that dream life look like? But if you were to take the full masterclass of the Female Founders Academy, we would really get distilled on what a clear picture of what that dream life looks like now that you've let yourself see it. And we get really specific getting into those vision statements and more specifically, those measurable goals that you then build your entire business based on. We talked a little bit about that clear vision. We want to know exactly how to prioritize every decision that we make in our life and in our business so that it supports that clear vision. So that would be in the full masterclass as well. And those really, really measurable goals, and how do you actually measure them so that you can withhold them and keep going. We've got this concept of what we want our dream life to look like, right? Now, how do we actually, here's the hardest part, show up? This is where the failure that I was talking about before really starts to seep in. How do you show up for your business with confidence and define your offerings from a place of authenticity? So, sure, you can come up with a business idea and you can come up with some offers that you're like, yes, this is going to pump out some sales. Let me tell you, because I've lived this, unless your offers are a natural extension of who you are, what you love, and what aligns to your business and your goals for your life, you will hate selling them. You will hate getting on camera and talking about them. You will hate showing them in your store because it is inauthentic to who you are. So this section is all around figuring out how to unlock that fear and put it away, because failure is the greatest gift, and really figuring out what should the offer be and how is it authentic to me? So imposter syndrome. Everybody has heard about imposter syndrome, right? And I've talked about this on the podcast a ton before. It is life altering, to be honest. People get so afraid to show up because there's so much going on in your head that gives fear and doubt. So this is anxiety, despite you having high performing results. This is feeling like a fraud or a phony. This is that perfectionism, that people pleasing. And here's what we need to do. We need to reframe all of that so that you know that you are not alone in what you're worried about. You are literally perfect just as you are, and that there's room for absolutely everyone. So when I think about the business idea that you have and this notion of like, oh my God, everybody's already out there, everybody's doing it, I want you to think really long and hard about finding your own lane. So this is, what about your idea sets your heart on fire? What do you see in the world, and how do you know that you could help? How can you relate to your customers? And what does it take to make you just feel 10% different? And if you think of those as 4 quadrants and you put a circle in the middle, that is your fast lane. See, there is literally room for absolutely everyone to succeed. 100% full stop. There's enough ears and eyes and consumer spending for everyone to be in every type of crowded category. But your 10% difference, which is how you connect to those 4 questions that we just asked, are really what makes you want to show up and shout from the rooftops about your business every single day. Then you want to get really clear on your mission statement so that you'll make every decision against what this statement is, especially because imposter syndrome is going to creep back in and you're going to feel stuck. So I know mission statements feel like something that you just toss on a business plan and you're like, okay, I did it. But honest to goodness, I go back and I reread mine all the time because there are moments almost every single week where I get so stuck, and then I go back to the mission of why I do this. I go back to the vision of what my life is looking like, and I can only hold myself accountable. And then I get brave again and I keep moving forward. Now, the next thing is really thinking about, okay, again, how do I give an offer that is authentic to me? So this is around, I like to do a brainstorm of like, because if you think about your business idea, I know you got a million different offering ideas. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. I like to bucket them into short term and long-term offerings or products, whatever it is, and then maybe some miscellaneous ideas. Get all those ideas down on the table and then really start to circle, especially in the short term, what are those really true, authentic ones to you? And that is where you want to start your focus. I would also encourage you, especially if you are doing, products versus offerings, is to keep it simple. Keep just a few and do those super well, and then learn from that and continue to go from there. So, we've talked about what imposter syndrome is, we've talked about finding your lane, and we've talked about really how to make an authentic offering. But in the full class, it really gives you all the tools in the toolbox roadblocks to really do. I swear being an entrepreneur is a spiritual assignment. I have had to work on myself, my roadblocks, my inner struggles so much in order to be able to do this business. And that has been one of the greatest gifts from it. So I've really put a lot of thought into how to overcome imposter syndrome and have full sort of worksheets in class on that. Also, really just blowing out that 10% difference and finding your fast lane, and then getting way more specific on what your offers are and how those actually come to life. So if that is something that is of interest to you, definitely go check out the full masterclass. Okay, next section. So we've talked about building the vision for your life. We've talked about getting over your fears and believing yourself and figuring out products that are natural or offerings that are a natural extension of who you are. So now we need to think of, okay, how do we actually make money doing this? How do we get to profitability as quickly and it is equally important to me as confidently as possible? And this is where I love to empower women with girl math finance. Listen, I'm a strategist. I don't really do, no one wants me in their balance sheets, but if I can do it, you can do it. Okay, let me just get real on the money stuff for a second here. You have to have a long-term plan. Do not open a business because you want instant gratification. I hate to break it to you, but it's probably not going to happen. Yes, you might get some followers and yes, you might get some sales, but you are not going to be truly profitable because you have to fumble and figure out a ton of stuff behind the numbers behind it before you can actually be truly profitable. So when you go into this, have a long-term plan. The other thing, and boy, oh boy, did I learn this with my e-commerce business and with my nonprofit, do not equate revenue with profit. So that means just because you're bringing in a ton of sales doesn't mean that you're profitable. Do you understand your expenses? Are you running your expenses lean enough so that you're actually making money with the revenue or the sales that you're bringing in? That is how you build a profit margin that is sustainable for growth. Another couple of things, us women, we love to plan for failure. We catastrophize. We come up with plan A, B, C, and D. In business, you need to plan for success. And you also cannot be afraid to succeed. Women are terrified to be like, oh my God, what if it works out? And then it's like this big thing. And now I'm a new person. You have to trust that you're doing this for a reason. And last but not least, you cannot give up. It takes 2 to 3, if not 5 years to be profitable. Let that sink in. Again, back to having the long-term plan, but it is in those 2 to 3, 4, and 5 years that you get so good at running your business. This is where you become an absolute expert. You learn what works and what doesn't. You learn how to scale, etc. Now, diving in. You need to understand your cash flow. So really you need you to understand your types of expenses, which is basically cash out of the bank account, and types of revenue, which is cash in. And remember that profit is not sales. So yes, you can be bringing all this cash in and you're like, well, look at me, I'm killing it. That's how I felt with Elizabeth and Kind, my paper and gift shop. But my expenses kept ratcheting up and up and up because I had to hire help. I had to use vendors that were expensive in order to meet the pace of which the business was growing. When I really didn't have a long-term plan, I was just so excited for sales. So you have to understand your startup cost, your fixed costs, your variable costs, your basically any type of cost that's either repeating month over month, is a one-time cost or an annual cost. And you have to equate that and look at that relative to what you're bringing in on the sales side. I want you to think about those numbers quarterly. I love to not carry debt. So I save and save before I start a business, and I invest my own money into the startup costs of a business and just consider it sunk. I open a debit card and I just run things lean right off of that debit card because I don't want to carry any debt when I'm starting my business, especially if you're just getting started and you're like, I only have a couple of hours a week to do this. So in order to make sure that you are as profitable as possible with what you're offering, to me, it is incredibly important to figure out your pricing. So I have a worksheet that really takes us through looking at various vendors and learning how to evaluate which are the right vendors for you. This is another thing where I've fumbled in the past. You can choose the cheapest vendor, the fastest vendor, the most popular vendor, but all those factors are really important to look at in totality because you need to understand your vendor cost. And then you'd be surprised there's additional cost that comes in. Maybe it's packaging, etc. And then you have to figure out what your retail price would be and then what your profit could be from that retail price relative to the expenses. And then I like to always sit and list the pros and cons for each one of these vendors because some of them are going to be really fast or some of them are going to have my favorite products, but then they're going to be way too expensive and then my margin sucks, for example. So when you get the chance, take out, write down all the slides from all the examples from the pricing worksheet in the free masterclass. And really, this to me is a really critical step in terms of figuring out how to actually bring cash in the door and how to become profitable faster. The last thing I like to talk about in my girl math section is all this concept of, again, it's going to take a while to be profitable. So within those first 2 to 3 to 5 years, I like to set financial goals that are sort of tied to life goals, just to kind of make it fun and understandable, and know that in those first 6 to 12 months, you are going to have startup costs. You're going to be investing in things that didn't work out. You're going to be picking the wrong vendors. You're going to be using the wrong sourcing. You're going to pick the wrong packaging, and it's all okay. But you are not going to be able to be lean in those first 6 to 12 months. So for me, I'm like, okay, I just want to bring in enough sales. My favorite example is to like cover my Amazon habit month over month, which is kind of out of control and I'm a work in progress. But that to me is like a very tangible, I'm going to do that. And then I'll be able to cover my Amazon habit. But have I made any money in my business yet? No. Do I feel better about my Amazon habit? Yes. And that is what makes it fun. Then in the next 6 to 18 months, you're starting to get really smart about running your business. You're getting a little leaner on your expenses. Your sales are starting to come in a little bit more, but you still haven't cracked that code to be profitable yet. So what else is something in your life that you could replace? Maybe it's your Amazon habit and your Target habit. Maybe it's your Amazon habit plus a girl's weekend trip. And again, this isn't money that you've actually made it profit, but you have goals with a tangible number, and that feels really good, really fun, and really motivating. And then by 24 to 36 months, you are going to break even because you have learned how to sell your stuff. You've learned how to price. You've learned how to narrow down your costs. And next thing you know, you're breaking even and ready to start making profit. So in the full masterclass, if you want a really strong, deep understanding of what type of expenses you're going to incur, how you can make money, what the bird's eye view is for profit margin, definitely have a look, really digging in deep into the evaluation of vendors, suppliers, and systems that not only fit your profit goals, but also fit your operating goals, fit your life goals. And then also it gets really into making those sort of fun life goals and breaking down, exactly how many units you need to sell for your particular product or offering per month in order to make those goals. It is like a full glow up of girl math finance. So if that is something that you are really struggling with or really just feel intimidated about, I highly recommend the class. One of the other sections that I really love, clearly because I've spent my entire career in marketing, is really all around marketing made easy. Marketing can be so complicated, and it's just like unnecessary roughness. And I fall for it all the time because, God, algorithms are constantly changing, trending audio, new trending video. It's just terrifying and weird and awkward to show up online. But I can't tell you how many times I've thought this, as well as how many times I've heard people say this. Can someone please just tell me what to say that'll actually drive growth in my business? And that is what we are going to get to today. When it comes to marketing, you need three things. You need a core message, which is essentially what to say. You need a goal, which is why you're actually saying it. And you need a plan, which is sort of the when and where to say it. Breaking down the core message is really all around audience insights. So that's a fancy word for saying, for the people you're selling to, what do they care about? What are their needs? What are their trends? What are their pain points? What are their barriers? This is so critical because the number one mistake in marketing is you are talking at people, not to people. So instead of being like, let me tell you all about these amazing things you're going to let me instead say, hey, I see you. I see this pain point. I see this interest. Let me tell you how I can serve you in that way. We all know how it feels to be talked at versus talked to. So really understanding your insights and letting those feed the core message is critical. A goal, basically why you're going to say it, is really a measurable objective, which is a fancy way of saying, are you trying to grow your brand awareness? Are you trying to get people, okay, they may know about you, but to actually consider buying? Are we trying to close the sale, etc.? And then the plan is really a content strategy, which is a fancy way of saying, what are we going to say? Where are we going to say it? How are we going to say it? And when are we going to say it? And we are going to get into all that. One of the most important things around your core message is really this notion of a transformation statement. So I know that sounds really fancy, but again, we have those audience insights. We know about our customer. We think about them as our best friend. What is their pain point? What is their desired outcome? And what is the benefit that you can give them relative to the pain point and desired outcome that comes from your brand? And this core message or transformation statement is something that you're going to say in every single piece of marketing. Whether you have a new vase in your shop or a new course to offer, you are going to say that you understand their need or their pain point, which is to give them this desired outcome. You're not ready for the holidays and you'd love to refresh your decor so that you feel confident when your guests come over. So come into the shop and check out all of our new tableware that's now available for the holidays, for example. But that is a transformation statement that you're going to say over and over and over in every single message. And what I also really want you to think about is this concept called the shift. And so that's every time your audience engages with a piece of marketing from you, what is the shift that you want them to go from thinking and believing to now thinking and believing based on your message? So from thinking, oh, my tablescape is going to be super ugly and I wish that it looked really cute, to being like, actually, it's going to be so cute. I'm confident. I can't wait for people to come over. That's the shift. And when you feel really tight on those, you know you've got a killer core message and that what you're going to say is actually going to drive consideration and sales. Next is that goal, right? So don't just post to post. You need quality, which in my mind is strategic and simple ways to win every time. You want remember those measurable business goals that we talked about at the beginning that we can actually quantify. Those are going to be the foundation for why you're showing up in marketing. And then you're going to use what, is sort of the concept of the marketing funnel to then piece together what you're going to say and where you're going to say it. So for example, if you want to drive brand awareness, the shift is that you're going to go from people not knowing about you to knowing about you. Your target is going to be new customers. And the way you're going to message them is say something about learn how my brand relates to you, right? So that in itself is very different versus someone who has just learned about your brand to now they're starting to consider it to now we're going to close some sales. So with sales, the way we're going to measure that is what actual revenue came through the door versus awareness. Maybe like, did we get some social media growth? Did we have people come to an event, etc.? So I want you to really think about why you're saying something. Are you saying it to push sales for a holiday objective? Are you saying it because you are partnering with another brand and you're really trying to grow awareness for both brands at the same time? Or are you saying it because you have a great following, but now you just really want people to start considering you for redecorating their home, etc.? So again, that's the goal. And then really truly, then you make a plan. I like to just kind of do 3 to 4 feed posts a week. They should be around a specific offering that, again, is all rooted in your core message and what you're actually trying to drive. So your content, let's say it's Monday. It's like, okay, why am I posting? Why am I posting this particular thing? What's the insight? What do I offer? What is the core message or transformation? And what value do they get? And that should be literally the equation for the 3 times you post a week. I am posting because I just got all new inventory in the shop and I can't wait for people to see it. Or I am posting because I know people get really stressed around the holidays and I can help organize their home before all the madness ensues. So that would be your insight. What you offer is home organization. Your core message is I help people feel confident and organized in their home. And the transformation is so they feel, ready to have guests over at a moment's notice. I'm totally making all this up, but you get it. It's actually a really simple, crystal clear equation. I want you doing 3 feed posts a week. Let's get in stories every single day with just a hop on of something that is relevant. And then try not to spend more than 45 minutes a day on marketing. As an entrepreneur, you have so many things to do. Literally keep it simple, simple, simple. And if social media scares you, start somewhere else. Email your besties with what's going on. Reach out to a mom's group. Like partner with other brands in order until you get your sea legs. Join communities or events. You don't have to start with social media if it freaks you out. You need to find your customers anywhere and then just be a part of what they do and get that messaging going. So, if this was helpful and you want to dive into the full class and you really want to get super tight on that repeatable core message to talk to customers to get really, really smart on how to understand them, I would recommend checking it out. If you want to get really, really smart in understanding the marketing funnel and just breaking that down into a really simple form so that you have a better understanding of why you're showing up every day, absolutely check it out. And then really the secret sauce to attracting your customers to drive those sales in terms of those like simple, repeatable, rhythmical, effective communication. That's really like simple, simple, simple. And that like repeatable, I know what I'm going to say every single day of the week. I would highly recommend checking the class out. But I think leaving today, we have a solid understanding of what that core message is, why we would actually show up and say something, and what that message would be, and how that adds value. And for our very last section, we want to talk all about how do you know what to do every day when there's a million things to do? I get it. When you are starting your own business, you literally wear all the hats, right? And that's okay. That's honestly one of the best parts is you get to make all the decisions. But yeah, that comes with a lot of overwhelm. So I think a lot of people get stuck in this paralysis mode and don't know how to figure out what to do next. But I have come up with really simple systems that keep me organized and moving every single week. So before we get into it, let's talk about why it's so hard for entrepreneurs to know what to do every day. Well, again, you are playing multiple roles. So you're deciding which tasks to prioritize amongst, I don't know, all of them, because you do all of them. This kind of, overwhelming to-do list because everything feels like a priority. You really are the only one doing things. Decision fatigue. As we know, even as parents, it's exhausting to be in charge of all the decisions and then to make your own business decisions on top of it. Don't get me wrong, it comes from such a place of empowerment and power and control. And, if you're doing the business you love from a place of joy, but just like our kids, sometimes we're just tired of making all the decisions. And then procrastination kicks in, which is my very favorite. I'm a professional procrastinator because sometimes I would rather avoid the things that feel hard. And then, of course, I do it. And it took me 30 seconds, but I've been avoiding it for weeks. Am I the only one there? Is anyone else like that? But here's the tips for entrepreneurs to keep going and to mitigate burnout. So you need to absolutely, I know everyone, this sounds woo woo, but practice your self care because also that's why we're building a business in 20 hours a week or less so that we can build in stuff like self care. Every single week, I play tennis because it brings me absolute joy. I feel like I am an adult playing in gym class, and being an athlete was one of my favorite things in the world. And so it brings me genuine, tremendous joy to be able to play a sport. I also always make sure I have time to go for a walk in nature, that I have time to connect with a friend over coffee or a glass of wine, because I only work 20 hours a week and I still get my kids off the bus. I still drive them to all their activities, etc. Um, Getting tight on measurable goals. I know we talked about this in previous sections, but this is critical to not being overwhelmed because when you have those measurable goals, then you know exactly what you're making all your decisions against. If you've got a list of things to do and you don't know what to do next, take a look at your goals and the ones that you're working towards and prioritize your things to do based on what's going to drive the most against that measurable goal. Or if you're deciding between two things, which gets you closer to that measurable goal? And then defining steps for success. That's a hard one to say. So this is we're going to get into in the next couple of slides, but breaking down those large, giant goals into steps and sections and chunks so you can just take it literally one bite at a time. And then I'm all about creating this sustainable structure so that you can have repeatable tasks week after week. So it's not like you sit down at the start of every day and be like, what should I do today? You know, generally what you're doing, rinse and repeat day after day, week after week, which is incredibly liberating. Again, the more simple, the better. Okay, so there are three types of plans to run your business. Plan number one is breaking down simple steps to achieve the big goals. So remember our measurable goals. We're going to take that goal and then we're going to break it down. I really love to put my start date and have a target complete date. And then this is just a brainstorm section where we have steps to make the goals happen. Let's think about all of those. And then let's just also make a section for things to think about because, you start thinking about a step and then it's like, ooh, that would require this, etc. So like leave a category or room on your paper for that kind of stuff to brain dump, but break down the big steps it's going to take for you to get there. So for example, if I'm launching a podcast, okay, so I need to build the podcast room. I need to pick a launch software. I need to pick recording equipment. I need to build a content strategy and book guests, etc. You get it. So, even just breaking down those big steps and putting them in sequential order. I know this is so rudimentary, but we don't do that enough anymore. We don't make it as simple as possible. And that is the number one goal of this whole shebang. Okay, so we're breaking down the simple steps for those big goals. Number two, we're going to break down those big steps so you can just move. So what I like to do is take that goal. So for example, build out the podcast studio. Okay, there's a lot to that, right? And then let's put a date for that. And then what are the tasks within that? It's like, okay, clear out the existing space, measure for furniture, purchase furniture and decor. Duh, let's start there. That's the fun part. Let's get microphones, let's paint, let's hang fixtures, let's test equipment and sound structure, whatever. And then also, I always love to have just a little mini section where I'm like, okay, as I'm thinking about these mini steps to get my larger goal done, these mini tasks to get this larger goal done, what are the details I don't want to lose track of? Do I have enough pillows and comfy, cozy blankets for people to feel comfortable and at home on the couch? Do I want to offer them coffee and wine? And do I have that accessible in the podcast studio, or is that maybe something in the kitchen? As all of our brains swirl on all these fun things, it's always important to have a place to dump that kind of stuff. But we've taken the measurable goal, broke it into steps, taken each step and then broke it into tasks. And it is so important, especially when you're like starting a business and you've got all these steps to get to those big goals, is to just do one step at a time. Take your big goal and its tasks, and not until you're done with that task list. Don't look at that next shiny big goal, because I know it looks fun to start something new and shiny, but stick with it and finish that first one. I promise it will move you through so much faster. Next, you need to build those repeatable weekly tasks. I talk about this a lot, but this is so crucial to my genuine happiness when it comes to running this business. So I evaluate every single quarter, roughly, basically every season. And a lot of it is derived from my kids' sports schedule, because that drives a huge part of my life and my after school activities. So I will write down in one column, I'll write down Monday through Friday, what are all of the life priorities that I want to repeat week after week? So here's where I put my tennis practice, or an exercise class, or where I want to block to have coffee with a friend, or I always walk in nature, or a day that I open bills and pay bills, or a day I go to Pilates, whatever it may be, or a day that I like block an hour to go through all of my email and make sure I've got all the freaking million forms for kids filled out. I plot those out Monday through Friday on what feels reasonable in terms of a schedule for my life. Always start with your life. Then, now that you've like kind of chunked out your tasks, and you're starting to operate your business, what tasks are going to repeat over and over and over again. So for me, it's like, okay, I have to record the podcast. I have to publish the podcast. I have to approve the podcast, then publish the podcast. I have to approve the social. We have to publish the social. I have to put it on the website. I have to send it out in an email, etc. So those tasks repeat week after week after week. I have to book guests. I have to research for the podcast. All of that repeats. So I literally go into my Google Calendar, because you can color code, and I loves me a color code. Each kid gets its own code. My fun stuff gets its own code, and each part of my work. So Female Founders Academy has one color code, and Write Your Own Story podcast has one color code. So that way I can kind of look at my week at a glance, and I schedule those big chunks in and literally just hit repeat. So every single week I look and I'm like, okay, I for the most part know what I'm doing. And I always make sure that there's still some space in the day to wiggle, because life is going to life. I don't want anyone booked top to bottom. You'll never succeed. You'll wake up every day feeling overwhelmed. No one is meant to be productive every single second of the day. So give yourself some grace and some wiggle room. Plus, things are going to need to move and shift. But if you start by plotting those life things and then those repeatable work tasks, I cannot even begin to tell you how much mental load that takes off week after week. I hope you find that helpful. I really feel like hopefully I've described it enough, at least at a high level, that you can apply this, whether it be to your life or to the business that you already have, or when you think about starting a new business. But in the full class, it really gets to breaking down what those measurable goals are into the steps, and it breaks down goal by goal. And then it goes into the prioritization of the tasks in like a really detailed level, and gets into like all sorts of tools and things, and how to start your business, what tools make you the most systematic, all of my recommendations for all the various platforms and things I use for, everything from accounting to social to, I don't know, everything in between. So if that sounds like something that is really helpful, definitely check out that full masterclass. But I just at least wanted to share high level what makes me really successful, and honestly, what makes me feel happy running my business day after day, week after week. Because I'm a single mom and I get really overwhelmed sometimes. I also overschedule myself on the life side all the time. Whoops-a-days. But I have this stuff all plotted out and broken down, so I know what to do week after week. And if I fall behind, I know exactly where I fell behind. Okay, that's all I've got. So as I was saying throughout, I've got a self-paced digital full masterclass that is just $5.97 that I would love nothing more than for you to take. It breaks it down into the various sections that we talked about. It comes with worksheets to print out. It comes with free printables. And what I love about the worksheets is I'm going to print them out and take them on Thanksgiving vacation with me. And when my kids are watching their iPads in the morning, I'm going to redo my worksheets because it feels really good to get regrounded in that structure. But those were going to be the things that you go back and reference when you feel lost and overwhelmed. My whole mission is to help women, again, yes, be financially independent, yes, live the life they want. But when it comes to owning and operating your business, no matter how big or small, I want you to go from that overwhelmed and stuck feeling to feeling very confident and clear because you have boiled the ocean to the most amazing, beautiful, simplified version of what you're trying to do. Because that's where creativity can flow. That's where joy can flow. That's where all the good stuff comes from, is when you have pared things down into its simplest, purest form. So that's all I've got. So if you have any questions, please shoot me a DM, hit me up in my email. If not, check out the class at writeyourownstory.co/FFA-courses. It is there for you to download. Every woman deserves to be doing something from a place of joy, and you can absolutely make more money than you can honestly imagine while working 20 hours a week, because time with our kids is fleeting and we are so important to them. And I don't want to miss a minute of that. And I don't want you to either. So as I mentioned, the course is just $5.97. It's at writeyourownstory.co/FFA-courses. I'm so grateful that you listened to this free masterclass. And if I can help in any other way, honestly, I am truly just here to serve. I would love for you to check out the full course because I would love nothing more for me to see and hear about you doing exactly what's on your heart, because you deserve it and you deserve to make money and find the confidence and the power that comes from that.